It's said that in the heart of East Africa's great Rift Valley, as the sun dips below the horizon and silence falls like a heavy curtain, you may hear it, the faint yet unrelenting rhythm of drum beats echoing across the vast, empty savanna. No human hand strikes these drums, no human knows their origin, but those who have heard the drums will tell you it's a sound you never forget. Welcome to the Nightside Archive. Tonight's chilling tale takes us to the mysterious depths of Africa and is aptly titled The Lost Drummers of Rift Valley. It's a phenomenon that has terrified locals and mystics for centuries, embedded deeply into the lore of this sprawling landscape. The story begins in the late 1800s, when colonial explorers, drunk on imperial ambition, invaded the Rift Valley seeking new territories to conquer. Among them was a man named Captain George Eversley, a British officer with a reputation for ruthlessness and a penchant for supernatural tales. Captain's thirst for treasure, glory, and mystery is what brought him and his crew deep into one of the most enigmatic corners of the African wilderness. According to handwritten accounts, found years later, things took a dark turn on the third night of their expedition. As the crew set up camp by a cluster of ancient baobab trees, a chilling sound disrupted the peace. The strange, eerie rhythm of drums from across the plains. Unsure whether they were hearing tribal rituals or something much darker, the men sat frozen by the campfire, staring into the shadowy horizon. Captain Eversley, ever the skeptic, or perhaps simply too prideful, dismissed the fears of the crew. But the sound persisted, growing louder, as if coming from the very earth beneath their boots. By dawn, they were met with a ghastly sight. One of their members had vanished without a trace, his bedding untouched, his gear left behind as though he had disappeared mid-sleep. Overwhelmed by dread but determined to push forward, the crew moved deeper into the valley. The drums became a nightly occurrence. Each evening, as darkness shrouded their camp, the beats haunted them, relentless and rhythmic, always distant yet deafening in their minds. And each morning, without fail, another crew member would be gone. Some accounts suggest that the remaining men whispered about the origins of the sounds. Locals had warned them about the haunted drummers, spirits of aggrieved warriors who had been betrayed and massacred during ancient tribal wars. These vengeful spirits, it was said, would forever roam the valley, their sorrow and rage weaving into the drum's haunting cadence. As days turned into weeks, Captain Eversley began to unravel. The proud officer who had once led his men with an iron fist was now reduced to a muttering, paranoid shadow of himself. He scribbled frantically in his journal about the agony of the drums, their rhythm eating into his very soul, a relentless torment that seemed to grow louder in proportion to his despair. The final entries from Captain Eversley's expedition told of a climactic event. The surviving crew abandoned him, fleeing into the bush when new screams erupted amidst the drumming. Eversley, still armed but desperate, reportedly chased the sound into the valley's mist-covered depths, never to be seen again. His journal was later found decades after his disappearance, lying next to an ancient grave site marked with broken drums and human bones, half sunken into the red, cracked earth. But the legend didn't end there. Over the years, numerous travelers reported hearing the same eerie drums echoing across the open expanses of the Rift Valley. Locals speak of nomads who vanished without a trace. Others recall hearing the drums when tragedy struck, a harbinger of death. One tale, whispered among Rift Valley tribes, tells of a young warrior named Akoke who defied his elders' warning and ventured towards the drum beats, daring to understand their call. His journey led him to an ancient burial site shrouded in fog and mystery. He was discovered days later, babbling incoherently about shadowy figures and hands that reached out of the earth with drums of bone and skin. To this day, Akoke lives as the valley's lone hermit, shunned by his village as a cursed man for having peered directly into the abyss. Scientific attempts to explain the drumbeats have long failed. Geologists suggest they might be caused by rare seismic activity, but this fails to explain the patterns of human fear and disappearance connected to the phenomenon. Some propose tribal folklore amplified by mass hysteria, while others point to clandestine rituals hidden amidst the valley's desolate corners. But eyewitnesses consistently maintain that these beats are not natural. Their rhythm follows no recognizable pattern. They isolate listeners, growing louder the harder you try to escape them. Even passing tourists have emerged jittery, claiming their modern devices mysteriously stopped working while the sound surrounded them. Both mystics and paranormal investigators have made countless attempts to document the phenomenon. Yet clear audio recordings seem almost impossible to obtain. Microphones glitch, batteries drain, leaving behind eerie static laced with faint whispers, or what some claim to be the drummer's ancient chant. The Rift Valley drums have now transcended folklore to become a phenomenon that both invokes skepticism and reverence. To hear them is often described as a once-in-a-lifetime encounter, with that one time being enough to haunt you forever. Occasionally, a brave soul will venture alone into the valley at dusk, armed to the teeth with gear intended to both capture and survive. Inevitably, they emerge shaken or not at all. The Rift Valley's haunted reputation may be etched into its culture, but the question remains: what exactly do the drums want? Are they mournful cries of restless spirits, or something far more sinister, a sound so ancient it predates human understanding? And why do they grow louder for some, driving explorers, wanderers, and locals to madness, while others hear only a faint, almost kind whisper floating on the breeze? If you ever find yourself standing on the edge of the Rift Valley at twilight, remember one thing: when the first drum begins, it may already be too late. Their rhythm is never a mere coincidence. It's a call. The drums, persistent, haunting, relentless, demand your attention and warn of the secrets lurking in the valley's depths. Perhaps it's a reminder, or maybe it's seeking its next victim. Here at the Nightside Archive, we wonder, if you heard those drums, would you dare to follow them? Or would you do what so many others could not, and run? Sleep well, if you can. And as always, stay curious, stay cautious, and stay in the light.